Balot ng makapal na snow ang mga disyerto sa Saudi Arabia.
Ano naman kaya ang paliwanag ng mga dilubhasa sa bihirang weather phenomenon na ito sa naturang bansa? Yan po ang ating aalamin mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Miyerkules ng gabi.
Hagupit ng Typhoon Mathay dama sa Cagayan.
Bilang ng walang trabaho sa Pilipinas, bumaba noong buwan ng Setyembre ayon sa Philippine Statistics Authority.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant sinibak sa pwesto.
Former U.S. President at Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump nanalo sa 2024 U.S. presidential election.
At Meta, binigyan ng access sa artificial intelligence models ang U.S. military. Lalo pong lumakas ang Typhoon Mathay kung saan hinahagupit nito ang lalawigan ng Cagayan. Ayon po yan sa Pag-asa.
Ayon sa datos ng State Weather Bureau, namataan ang mata ng bagyo 295 kilometers ng silangang bahagi na Pari sa Cagayan bandang alas 4 ng hapon. Gumagalaw ito sa direksyon Pakanluran na may lakas na 150 kilometers per hour at bugsong 185 kilometers per hour. Habang tinatahak ng bagyo ang hilagang parte ng Luzon, ay itinaas ng Pag-asa ang signal number 3 sa northeastern portion ng mainland Cagayan. Signal number 2 sa Batanes, natitirang bahagi ng Cagayan, Babuyan Islands, northern portion ng Isabela, Apayao, northern portion ng Kalinga, northern portion ng Abra, Ilocos Norte at northern portion ng Ilocos Sur. Signal number 1 naman sa natitirang bahagi ng Ilocos Sur, La Union, northwestern portion ng Pangasinan, rest of Abra, rest of Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, rest of Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya at northern portion ng Aurora. Ayon sa Pag-asa, inaasahan na maaaring lumabas na sa Philippine Area of Responsibility o PAR ang bagyong Mathay sa araw ng Biyernes. Paglabas nito sa PAR ay tatawagin na ito sa international name na Yinxing.
Inanunsyo ng Department of Health o DOH na umabot na sa alert level ang kaso ng dengue sa National Capital Region o NCR. Sinabi ni DOH NCR Region Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit mula January 1 hanggang October 26 nakapagtala na ng 24,232 cases ng dengue. Ang naitalang datos ay mas mataas ng 34.47% kumpara sa naitalang mga kaso sa parehong panahon sa nakaraang taon na 18,020 dengue cases. Tinukoy din po ng DOH na ang 25.62% sa naitalang kaso ngayong taon ay mula sa Quezon City. Nakapagtala rin ang ahensya ng 66 kataong nasawi dahil sa dengue sa NCR sa unang 10 buwan ng 2024. Kaya paalala ng DOH sa publiko, sundin ang kinakailangang pag-iingat kontra dengue. Payo rin po ng ahensyang panatilihin ang kalinisan sa mga lugar na pwedeng pamahayan ng lamok, partikular na ang mga breeding sites lalo na ngayong panahon ng tag-ulan.
Inihayag ng Philippine Statistics Authority o PSA na bumaba ang unemployment rate sa Pilipinas noong buwan ng Setyembre. Batay sa datos ng PSA, bumaba sa 3.7% ang naitalang unemployment rate noong buwan ng Setyembre. Mas mababa ito kumpara sa naitala noong August na 4%. Sa kabilang banda naman ay tumaas ang naitalang bahagdan ng employment rate noong September sa 96.3% mula sa 96% noong August. Ibig sabihin, noong buwan ng Setyembre, nasa 49.87 million ang mga Pilipinong may trabaho. Mas mataas ito kumpara noong September 2023 na 47.67 million Filipinos.
Bumuo na si Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla ng isang task force na mag-iimbestiga sa umano'y extrajudicial killings o EGK sa war on drugs ng Duterte administration. Sa Memorandum Order No. 778, kabilang sa naturang task force ang ilang piskal at agents ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI. Ipinag-utos ang kalihim sa task force na siyasatin at magsagawa ng case build-up upang matiyak kung dapat bang magsampa ng kasong kriminal laban sa mga sangkot sa EJK ng Anti-Illegal Drugs Campaign ng nakaraang administrasyon. Ang pagkakatatag ng task force ay kaugnay pa rin sa isinasagawang investigasyon ng Quad Committee ng mababang kapulungan ng Kongreso at ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Pinagsusumiti naman ni Remulla ang task force ng ulat hinggil sa naging resulta ng kanilang investigasyon sa tanggapan ng kalihim sa loob ng 60 araw.
Hindi dadalo si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa pagdinig ng House Quad Committee ukol sa issue ng war on drugs bukas. Ayon sa isang sulat na pinadala ni Attorney Martin Adelgra, ang legal counsel ni Duterte, doubtful o dudaan niyang dating Pangulo sa integridad at motibo ng Quadcom. Paliwanag pa ni Attorney Delgra, mahalaga ang pagdalo ni Duterte sa pagdinig ng Kamara dahil mabibigyan ito ng liwanag ang issue ng extrajudicial killings. Ngunit malinaw niya na ang investigasyon na ito ay isang political ploy na naglalayong idiin ng dating Pangulo sa mga krimen na hindi niya ginawa. Naniniwala rin anya si Duterte na sapat na ang kanyang naipahayag sa pagdinig ng Senado noong nakarang linggo. Maaari rin anya na hingin na lang ang transcript ng pagdinig sa Senate Blue Ribbon Subcommittee.
Nakaplano na ang Pilipinas na maglunsad ng mga bagong dockyards at shipyards upang suportahan ang mga bagong naval vessels na darating sa susunod na 3 taon. Ito ang inanunsyo ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. at binanggit na may 10 barko ang darating sa bansa na wala pang mga nakalaang pantalan. Ang tinutukoy niya ay ang 2 missile corvettes at 6 na offshore patrol vessels na kasalukuyang ginagawa ng defense contractor na HD Hyundai Heavy Industries sa South Korea. Kasama rin sa usapan ang 2 landing docks mula sa PT PAL ng Indonesia. Binigyan diin ni Teodoro ang kahalagahan ng modernisasyon sa militar ng Pilipinas at kasama ang paglunsad ng shipyard dito.
Nais ng Pilipinas na bumili ng 40 Coast Guard Patrol boats. Aabot ang halaga ng mga barkong ito sa $442 million. Anila magagamit ito ng Pilipinas para palakasin ang naval capability nito sa West Philippine Sea o WPS. Makakatulong din ang mga barkong ito sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno upang pangalagaan ang maritime security ng Pilipinas sa WPS.
Nilinaw ng mga pangunahing opisyal ng Pilipinas at Estados Unidos na mananatiling matatag ang suporta ng US sa Pilipinas kahit sino pa ang nanalo at mananalo sa US presidential elections. Mahalaga ang halalang ito sapagkat maaari nitong mabago ang direksyon ng pulisiya ng Washington sa Indo-Pacific region. Ayon kay Philippine Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez, maaari rin itong maapektuhan ang soberenya ng Pilipinas sa patuloy na lumalakas na hamon mula sa China sa West Philippine Sea. Subalit, ipinaliwanag niyang nagkakaisa ang Democratic at Republicans na partido sa pagpapahalaga sa Pilipinas bilang mahalagang kaalyado nito sa rehiyon. Ipinahayag naman ni US Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson ang kumpiyansa niyang mananatiling matatag at hindi masisira ang alyansa ng dalawang bansa. Susunod, China naghahanda na para sa posibleng trade war na magaganap buhat ng US elections.
At Defense Minister Yoav Gallant ng Israel sinibak ni Netanyahu.
Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Oh no, the long wait is over dahil 8 tawanan tayong ulit sa ating bagong season ng Lap Trip at Kulitan. May mga magbabalik sa pranksters na level up ang pang-play time. Papa P, next level na rin ang mga prank challenges.
Piliin sa mga boxes na yan kung nasaan ang hotdog.
Siguradong happy ang buong family sa ating mga pranks at practical jokes na sobrang lupit sa kulit.
1, 2, 3, sip-sip.
Ano kayo palasa niya?
Dahan natin.
So, what are you waiting for? 8 ba o 4? 8.
About to buy a new iPhone. You guys have any extra money? I'll accept card reader too.
Wala pera.
Oh, pera. Oh, here. QR code.
Join sa pagkikipagkulitan sa new season ng pinakamakulit at pinakamasayang prank show sa balat ng telebisyon. Kasama ang one and only prank master, Joey De Leon. That's me. Oh no, it's Bio. Biro only tuwing Sabado alas 8 ng gabi sa Net 25.
Itutuloy pa rin ng Taiwan ang kanilang pakikipagtulungan sa Estados Unidos sa kabila ng resulta ng US elections.
Regardless of where you are in the world, the things that may happen even domestically in the United States will affect you. And especially I being in Taiwan currently, there is a lot of questions about America's diplomatic role, the role that the United States will continue to play in the region that will affect lives here, regardless of your citizenship and such. So, yeah, no, I still think it impacts us a lot.
Sa ngayon ay wala pang kinikilalang formal na nanalong kandidato si Taiwan National Security Bureau Director General Tsai Ming-yen, ngunit nanindigan ito na hindi puputulin ng US ang relasyon sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa upang mapigilan ang panggugulo ng China habang naghahandang magpalit ng gobyerno ang Estados Unidos. Ito ay sa kabila ng banta ni Trump na pagbabayarin niya ang Taiwan para protektahan sila ng US. Inakusahan pa nito ang Taiwan na ninanakawan ng oportunidad ng semiconductor industry ang kanilang bansa. Dagdag pa ni General Tsai na patuloy na makikipag-ugnayan ang kanilang gobyerno sa administrasyon upang talakayin ang ibang mga oportunidad para sa kolaborasyon. Tutulong din ang Taiwan sa kanilang mga international partners upang makipagpalitan ng impormasyon ukol sa mga galaw ng Chinese military at ang mga intensyon nito sa mga susunod na buwan. Sabi naman ni Taiwan Economy Minister Kuo Ji-hui ay naghahanda na ang kanilang gobyerno na salubungin ang magiging panibagong presidente ng US. Wala namang naging komento ang China's Taiwan Affairs Office.
He's telling Taiwan to pay for our own protection, right? The semiconductor industry, things like that. So I think there's just more unpredictability. And this is already a tightrope that Taiwan is walking. And he can be very provocative in general with his rhetoric. So we don't know where it's going to go. Maybe he's going to be like, allow more officials to visit and just like, and I think for me, from my view in terms of the geopolitical cross-strait relations, I think mainly it's the rhetoric also that can heat things up.
These circles help us understand where.
Samantala, naghahanda ng China na makalaban ng Estados Unidos sa isang trade, technology at security war ng 4 na taon. Ito ay matapos ideklara ni Trump ang kanyang pagkapanalo sa 2024 presidential elections kahit wala pa namang opisyal na resultang inilalabas ang US government. Ayon naman sa mga eksperto, inaasahan na nila ang mga patutsada ni Trump at ang pagpataw na matataas na taripa sa kanilang mga produkto. Ngunit sinabi rin nilang ang tinatawag nilang isolationist approach ni Trump ay maaaring maging oportunidad para sa Beijing na palawakin pa ang kanilang impluwensya sa ibang bansa. Sa pahayag ni Tong Zhao na isang senior fellow researcher sa Carnegie, pinaghahandaan na nila ang malapit na labanan sa eleksyon, subalit hindi nila ninanais na manalo si Trump. Sa kabila nito ay pagbubutihin pa rin ng gobyerno ng China na panatilihin ang mabuting relasyon ng dalawang bansa sa kabila ng pagpostura ng China bilang isang global superpower. Sabi naman ni Da Wei na isang direktor sa Center for International Security and Strategy, mahirap na paghandaan ang isang Trump presidency. Matagal nang sinabi ni Trump na balak itong paatasin ng halos 60% ang taripa ng mga produktong pinapadala ng China sa kanyang bansa upang matanggal ang most favored nation trading status nito.
美国的总统选举是美国的内政，我们尊重美国人民的选择。关于你提到的这个关税哈，我们不回答假设性的问题。
Inanunsyo ng South Korea ang plano nitong makabuo ng isang perfect security partnership sa magiging bagong administrasyon ng Estados Unidos. Kinumpirma ng isang opisyal sa Seoul na inaasahang makikipag-usap si South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol sa bagong halal na Pangulo ng Estados Unidos sa mga darating na araw, ngunit wala pang karagdagang detalye ukol dito. Matagal lang magkaalyado ang South Korea at US na mayroong humigit kumulang 28,500 tropang Amerikano sa bansa. Napapadalas na rin ang pag-uusap ng dalawang bansa ukol sa pagbibigay armas at sundalo sa Ukraine upang i-counter ang mga binigay na supply ng North Korea sa Russia.
Sinabi ng US State Department na handa itong ibenta sa South Korea ang 4 na E-7 airborne early warning and control aircraft. Kasama rin sa weapons sale na ito ang 10 jet engines at iba pang systems and support elements na tinatayang nasa $4.92 billion. Ang mga armas na ito na tinatawag na wedge tails ay makatutulong sa South Korea upang ma-detect ang mga missiles ng mas mabilis. Kaya rin nito nga malaman kaagad kung may paparating na missile na galing naman sa malayong lugar. Sabi naman ng ilang war experts, paghahanda umano ito sa anumang banta ng North Korea.
Nakipagsagupaan na ang Ukrainian Army sa mga tropa ng North Korea sa Kursk region. Sa isang interview ay ibinunyag ni Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov na nagkaroon ng enkwentro sa gitna ng mga sundalo ng Ukraine at isang grupo ng North Koreans. Sa kabila nito ay minaliit lang ito ng Seoul kung saan sinabi nilang hindi direktahang nakikipagsagupaan ang mga nasabing sundalo kundi nakaengkwentro lang ang dalawang kampo malapit sa front lines ng rehiyon ng Kursk. Ayon naman kay Ukraine leader Volodymyr Zelensky, ang mga unang labanan sa gitna ng dalawang bansa ay nagbubukas ng panibagong kabanata ng kaguluhan sa mundo.
Першими боями з північно-корейськими солдатами відкривається нова сторінка нестабільності у світі. І ми маємо разом зі світом зробити все, щоб цей російський крок на розширення війни, на справжню ескалацію, щоб цей його крок став програшним. І для нього, і для Північної Кореї.
Noong mga nakaraang linggo lamang ay kinumpirma ng Pentagon at NATO sa South Korean Intelligence Agency ang presensya ng mga tropa ng Pyongyang sa loob ng Russia. Isang paratang na hindi pa sinasagot ng direkta ng Pyongyang o ng Moscow. Pinatawag naman ng Seoul ang ambassador ng Russia ukol sa insidente para hilingin ang pagpapaatras ng mga sundalo ng North Korea sa rehiyon. Binalaan din nila ito na kinokonsidera ng South Korea ang magpadala ng armas sa Ukraine.
Samantala, nirelease ng Swedish Armed Forces ang isang video ni Crown Princess Victoria. Sa videong ito ay makikita na sumabak ang prinsesa sa isang basic military training sa Stockholm Amphibious Regiment. Ilang sa mga pinag-aralan ni Princess Victoria ay tactics, military science at military strategy. Ang training na ito ay bahagi ng kanyang special officer training upang mapaghandaan nito ang kanyang magiging katungkulan bilang head of state ng Sweden. Nakulong na ang 18 miyembro ng isang people smuggling gang na inakusahan sa paggamit ng mga maliliit na barko para magpadala ng libo-libong mga imigrante sa United Kingdom. Sa nakalipas na ilang taon, kontrolado ng gang na ito ang karamihan sa mga small boat crossings mula sa hilagang bahagi ng France. Ayon sa prosecutors, ang grupong ito na karamihan ay mga Iraqi Kurds ay tinaguri ang merchants of death at nahuli sa isang malawakang operasyon sa Europe. Naaresto ang mga suspects sa Britain, France, Germany at the Netherlands. Mahigit 100 bangka, libo-libong life jackets, mga makina at pera naman ang nasamsam sa operasyon.
Sinibak ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ang kanyang defense minister na si Yoav Gallant dahil sa kawalan ng tiwala.
בעיצומה של מלחמה, יותר מתמיד, נדרש אמון מלא בין ראש הממשלה לשר הביטחון. ולצערי, אף שבחודשים הראשונים של המערכה היה אמון כזה, והייתה עבודה מאוד פוריה, במהלך החודשים האחרונים האמון הזה נסדק. ביני לבין שר הביטחון גלנט התגלו פערים משמעותיים בניהול המערכה, והפערים הללו נולדו בהצהרות, בפעולות שמנוגדות להחלטות הממשלה ולהחלטות הקבינט. עשיתי ניסיונות רבים לגשר על הפערים הללו, אבל הם הלכו והתרחבו. הם הגיעו גם לידיעת הציבור בדרך לא מקובלת, וגרוע מזה, הם הגיעו לידיעת האויב. האויבים שלנו רבו נחת מזה והפיקו מזה הרבה תועלת. עכשיו, אני מאמין בדעות שונות, בוויכוחים פתוחים, כל אחד יודע, מי שמכיר אותי, זאת הדרך שלי לנהל את הדיונים ואת הערכות ואת ההחלטות.
Papalitan siya ng kanyang kaalyado na si Foreign Affairs Minister Israel Katz. Ang bakanting posisyon naman ng Foreign Affairs Minister ay gagampanan ni Prime Minister Gideon Saar. Sa kanyang pagtanggap ng posisyon bilang Defense Minister ay nangako si Katz na ibabalik nito ang mga nadakip mula sa Gaza at sisiguruhin niyang tuluyan ng mapupuksa ang grupo ng Hamas at Hezbollah. Sinalubong naman ang malawakang kilos protesta mula sa mga mamamayan ng Israel ang desisyon. Nakatanggap naman ang halo-halong reaksyon mula sa gobyerno ng Israel ang desisyong yan ni Netanyahu. Pinuri ni Minister Ben-Gvir ang pagtanggal kay Gallant kung saan sinabi nitong hindi magiging posible ang tagumpay ng Israel hanggat kasama sa gabinete si Gallant. Tinawag naman ni opposition leader Yair Lapid na isang act of madness ang ginawa ni Netanyahu. Sa isang pahayag naman ng White House ay sinabi nilang naging importanteng parte si Gallant ng mga negosasyon nila ng nakaraang taon, ngunit magsisikap silang makatrabaho si Katz sa mga susunod na buwan. Ayon kay Netanyahu, naglabas si Gallant ng mga pahayag na taliwas sa desisyon ng kanyang administrasyon at gabinete. Idiniin din ito ng seguridad ng Israel ang simulat sa pool na pinangangalagaan nito.
אבל המשבר האמון שהלך ונפער ביני לבין שר הביטחון הפך לנחלת הכלל, והמשבר הזה אינו מאפשר המשך תקין של ניהול המערכה. לא רק אני אומר את זה. מרבית חברי הממשלה ומרבית חברי הקבינט, כמעט כולם, שותפים לתחושה הזאת שכך אי אפשר להמשיך. לאור זאת, החלטתי היום על סיום כהונתו של שר הביטחון. במקומו החלטתי למנות לתפקיד את השר ישראל כץ. ישראל כץ כבר הוכיח את היכולות שלו ואת התרומה שלו לביטחון הלאומי, גם כשר החוץ, כשר האוצר, כשר המודיעין במשך 5 שנים, ולא פחות חשוב מזה, כחבר בקבינט המדיני-ביטחוני במשך שנים ארוכות.
Sa kanyang huling pahayag bilang Defense Minister ay sinabi ni Gallant na ang dahilan ng kanyang pagkakatanggal sa pwesto ay ang kanyang pagtutol sa iba't ibang issue ng kanyang mga kasama sa gabinete.
אסור לאפשר לחוק מפלה ומושחת לעבור בכנסת ישראל ולפטור רבבות אזרחים מנשיאה בנטל. הגיע הזמן לשינוי. כאן, במעמד הזה, אני מבקש להצדיע לנופלים ולבני משפחותיהם, לפצועים ולנכים, לחטופים ולמשפחותיהם וללוחמי צה"ל באשר הם. אני סומך עליכם ואני מצדיע לכם.
America is ready for a fresh start.
I will rescue the American dream.
Get out there and vote. Let's get this started.
We're going to vote for a change. We're going to vote to take this country in a new direction.
Sa nalalapit na pagtatapos ng halalan, marami ang nagtatanong, paano nga ba ginaganap ang halalan ng pagkapangulo sa Estados Unidos? Mula sa pagkakatatag ng bansa, ginagamit ang Electoral College upang piliin ang Pangulo. Sa prosesong ito, ang mga botante ay hindi direktang pumipili ng Pangulo kundi ibinoboto nila ang mga elector ng kanilang estado. Upang manalo, ang kandidato ay kailangang makakuha ng 270 boto sa Electoral College mula sa kabuuang 538. Bago ang halalan, pumipili ang bawat estado ng listahan ng mga electors. Sa pagtatapos ng botohan, ang kandidato na manalo o mananalo sa popular vote ng estado ang siyang magtatakda kung alin sa mga listahan ng electors ang boboto sa Electoral College. Sa karamihan ng mga estado, ang sistema ay winner-take-all kung saan ang kandidatong may pinakamaraming boto ang makakakuha ng lahat ng electoral votes ng estado. Ngunit may ilang estado na gumagamit ng proporsyonal na sistema kung saan ang bawat distrito ay may kanya-kanyang boto. Ang mga elector ay maaaring mga lokal na opisyal, lider ng partido o kaya'y mga aktivista na napili dahil sa kanilang serbisyo at katapatan sa bansa. Kung sakaling magkaroon ng tie ang boto sa Electoral College, ang mga miyembro ng bagong halal na House of Representatives ang magpapasya kung sino ang magiging Pangulo habang ang Senado naman ang pipili ng Vice-Presidente.
Samantala sa New York, idineklara na nakuha ni Kamala Harris ang estado. Alamin po natin ang eleksyong naganap doon mula kay Joanne Soriano live mula sa Manhattan. Joanne?
On the final day of early voting, which ended on Sunday, November 3rd, New York City hit a record-breaking 1.1 million votes. For New York State, just under 3 million voters took part in early voting, according to State Board of Elections. New York State has a total of 13.6 million registered voters, with 12.4 being active. By party breakdown, the numbers are 5.9 million active Democrats, 2.8 million Republicans, and 3 million non-affiliated. Right now, in front of Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan, there is a buzz of excitement. New York has voted Democratic in past presidential elections since 1988. I spoke to some voters yesterday who voted for Kamala Harris, and they were worried about Trump winning. Joanne Soriano, New York, from Matay Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Joanne Soriano mula sa New York. Una nating kamustahin ang kabisera naman ng Estados Unidos, ang Washington, D.C. Alamin natin mula kay Jeff Sanidad kung ano ang temperatura ngayon doon, lalo na't mainit ang laban sa pagitan ni Donald Trump at Kamala Harris.
Sa gitna ng pagpili ng Amerika sa susunod na leader nito, alerto ang kabisera ng bansa, ang Washington DC, sa potensyal na karahasan dahil sa init ng labanan sa pagitan ni Republican Donald Trump at Democrat Kamala Harris. Masusumpungan ng itinayong 8-foot-tall na bakod ng Secret Service na nakapalibot ngayon sa high alert key locations dito sa Washington, D.C. Kabilang narito ang White House na opisyal na residensya ni U.S. President Joe Biden, ang tahanan ni Vice President at Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris, pati na ang Treasury Department Complex, ang Lafayette Square at Naval Observatory. Pansamantala namang ginamit muli sa US Capitol ang bicycle rack barriers na ipinaikot sa perimeter nito at minarkahang police line, do not cross. Samantala, naglagay din ng seguridad ang ahensya sa West Palm Beach, Florida Convention Center. Ayon sa Secret Service, ang karagdagang seguridad na ito ay hindi dahil sa anumang issue, kundi bahagi ng malawakang paghahanda ukol sa kaligtasan sa publiko para sa eleksyon. Ilang gusali na rin dito sa kabisera, lalo na ang businesses ang nagtapal ng kahoy sa kanilang mga bintana dahil sa potensyal na nakawan sa araw at pagkatapos ng eleksyon. Ayon sa DC Police Chief, may higit sa 3,000 pulis ang magsasalitan kada 12 oras at iikot sa buong kabisera. Samantala, kamakailan ay nagbabala ang mga opisyal ng US intelligence ukol sa potensyal na pangingialam ng Russia at Iran sa eleksyon. Dagdag nito, maaaring magpasimunoan niya ng kaguluhan ang mga bansang ito pagkatapos ng halalan. May mga usap-usapan na sinusuportahan ng Kremlin si Trump sa pamamagitan ng pagtatanim ng mga pagkakabahabahagi sa Americans at sa pagpapahina sa US alliances. Sa kabila ng pagtanggi ng Russia at Iran na sangkot ang mga ito sa election interference, nangingibabaw pa rin ang pag-alala sa bansa, lalo na sa pagbangon ng disinformation campaigns tulad noong bago maganap ang January 6 Capitol attack. Mula dito sa Washington, D.C., Jeff Sanidad para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Jeff, nabanggit mo yung mga security fences. Hanggang kailan kaya mananatili ang mga security fences na yan na nakapalibot sa key areas ng DC? Lalo pat, di ba, yung mga lugar na yan puntahin ng mga turista?
Ayon sa mga otoridad, ang security measures na ito sa DC tulad ng pagbabakod sa key locations ay hindi lang para sa botohan, kundi ito ay bilang paghahanda na rin para sa inauguration na magaganap sa January sa susunod na taon. Sino mang pangulo ang manalo?
Halimbawa naman, Jeff, hindi pa natatanggap hanggang ngayon ng isang botante ang kanyang absentee ballot. Anong pwede niyang gawin?
So lahat ng estado dito sa US maliban sa Illinois, Missouri, Wyoming at kabilang na rin ang Washington DC, so mayroon silang tinatawag na ballot tracking para ito sa mga mail-in at absentee ballots. Ang vote.org ay may link sa 47 states tracking tools na mayroong mga gabay para sa mga may katanungan tungkol sa kanilang boto. At mayroon din itong gabay para sa mga provisional ballots. So ano ba ang provisional ballots? So sa araw ng eleksyon, so parte ng proseso, ang election officers ay i-verify ang kwalifikasyon ng isang botante sa pagboto. Ngayon, i-check nila ang ID, ang issued ID ng state. For example, is yung driver's license. Ikukumpirma nila kung ang pangalan at address ay nag-match sa election records. Ngayon, kapag hindi nag-match, for example, yung address, so pagkakalooban sila ng provisional ballots. So, instead na itaboy nila yung botante, pagkakalooban nila ito ng provisional ballots. So, ipapaliwanag ng election officers kung ano yung dahilan at pinagkalooban sila ng provisional ballots. So, makakaboto pa rin sila. So, iluhulog nila ito, subalit hindi may isasama ito sa gabi ng pagbilang hanggat hindi nila natutugunan kung ano man yung question sa kanilang qualification. So mayroon silang 2 araw para tugunan ito. And then sa loob ng 10 araw after the election, bibilangin lahat ng qualified na provisional ballots na verified information. Ngayon, kapag hindi nila natugunan ito sa loob ng 2 araw, hindi ito maisasali sa bilangan.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Jeff Sanidad, mula dyan sa Washington, D.C.
Meanwhile, the votes are cast and the polls are closed in the East Coast. At survey says, lamang si Donald Trump sa 2 major swing states. Alamin naman natin ang latest mula sa ating Net 25 correspondent na si Rosel Feria. Rosel.
Nanalo bilang bagong Pangulo ng Estados Unidos si Republican candidate Donald Trump laban kay Democrat Kamala Harris batay sa pinakahuling poll. 53 electoral votes at halos 5 milyon sa popular votes ang lamang ni Trump. Ang kabuuang boto para kay Trump ay 277 electoral votes at 71,183,547 votes. Si Harris naman ay umani lamang ng 224 electoral votes at 66,251,503 votes. Nakuha ng dating Pangulo ang karamihan sa tinatawag na crucial swing states gaya ng Georgia, North Carolina at Pennsylvania na salitang niligawan ng 2 kandidato maging ilang oras bago ang general election. Ayon sa analyst, malaking factor ang kontribusyon ng tinatawag na quiet voters. Kung titingnan ng mapa ng election results, pulang-pula o Republican talaga ito kung kaya't hindi maitatanggi ang saloobin ng majority ng bansa. Naayon na nga handa silang sumabak muli ng 4 na taon na si Trump ang magiging pinuno ng Amerika. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C. para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Hello, Rosel. Tanungin lang namin, no? Ano ba yung karamihan naging reaksyon ng mga tao dyan matapos malaman na si Trump na nga ang nanalo?
Magandang gabi sa inyo dyan. Marami pa rin ang nagulat dito dahil sa layo ng lamang ni Trump kay Harris. Lalo na ang prediksyon ay matatagalan ng bilangan dahil nga sa higpit ng laban, lalo na sa battleground states. Pero tulad nga ng sinabi ng ating mga nakapanayam, nitong mga nakaraang araw, sino man ang mailagay sa pwesto, ang pag-asa nila ay bumuti ang kalagayan ng bansa at sa kabila ng sunod-sunod na kalamidad at dagok ng ekonomiya nitong mga nakaraang taon. Balik sa inyo dyan.
Rosel, dahil nga 'di ba naging lamang nga si Donald Trump diyan sa East Coast. Ano naman yung mga saloobin ng mga mamamayan diyan? What are they hoping for Trump to achieve in his new presidency this 2024 onwards?
Ang gusto lamang nila ay mai-address ang mga issues nila at higit sa lahat ang mai-unite ang buong bansa ng Amerika. Yun ang nais talaga nilang makita na magawa ni Trump dito sa darating na 4 na taon na siya iuupo.
May mga celebrations sa ba diyang nagaganap, Rosel?
So far, palibasa umaga, no? Sa ibang mga lugar, marami ng mga nagse-celebrate. Pero ngayon, abala uli sila, balik sa trabaho, balik sa kanilang mga ginagawa sa araw-araw na pamumuhay. Pero mapapansin din na tahimik ang mga tao, ngunit makikita mo sa loob nila, makikita mo sa kanila kung sino ang na masaya yung iba, ang iba malungkot, pero pare-pareho naman sila ng pag-asa ang maging united ang bansa.
Okay, maraming salamat sa iyo, Rosel Feria, nag-uulat ng live mula sa Washington, D.C.
Susunod, lingap ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa Cape Town, South Africa.
NBA star Joel Embiid pinatawan ng 3-game suspension.
At Mark Ruffalo, Lady Gaga at iba pa nakiisa sa pagboto sa US elections. Iba pang mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Kasulukuyang henerasyon, marami na ang nag-viral. Dahil po yan sa kanilang ginagawang pagtulong sa kapwa. Pero mas marami ang tumutulong kahit walang nakakakita. Kaya naman kung ikaw ay may kilala na grupo o individual na may natatanging pagresponde sa lipunan at maging sa kalikasan, mag-text lamang sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com. At magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at Net25TV. Baka kayo na ang susunod nating Certified Key Responder.
Let's get together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang Net25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's get together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
Rescue the American dream.
Get out there and vote. Let's get this started. We're going to vote for a change. We're going to vote to take this country in a new direction.
Nagtapatan na nga po si Donald Trump at Kamala Harris sa pwesto bilang susunod na Pangulo ng Estados Unidos. Pinilahan ng mga botante sa North Carolina ang pagboto para sa kanilang mga ninanais na kandidato na manalo sa eleksyon. Batay sa resulta ng halalan ay nanguna si Trump sa North Carolina mula sa 51.1% habang si Harris naman ay nakakuha ng 47.7%. Kasunod dito ay nakuha ni Trump ang nasa 16 na electoral votes na mayroon ang North Carolina. Kaugnay nito ay nanguna rin si Trump noong 2020 election sa estado mula naman sa 49.9% laban kay Biden na nakapagtala ng 48.6%. Ayon sa mga political analysts ay hindi pa rin nagbabago ang pagsuporta ng mga tao sa lugar dahil sa magkasunod na pagkapanalo ni Trump. Lumalabas din na tumaas ng ilang porsyento ang bilang ng mga boto para kay Trump mula sa eleksyon noong 2022 at sa ngayon.
A stunning comeback to the White House, the extraordinary return of Donald Trump. Sigaw ng mga supporters ni President-elect Donald Trump. Pasado 5:30 ng umaga Eastern Time nang manalo si Trump sa Wisconsin State. The success in Wisconsin helped him secure more than 270 electoral votes, paving the way for him to win the U.S. presidency. To sum up this historic day, narito si Myla Simbulan live. Myla!
Tama ka dyan, Nina. Isang makasaysayang araw ito para sa mga Amerikano dahil muling nanalo si Donald Trump sa presidential election. At siya na ngayon ang ika-47 Pangulo ng Estados Unidos. Ayon sa ilang business experts, Trump won fair and square. Sabi naman ng mga taga-suporta ni Trump, biggest comeback ito para kay President-elect Trump dahil kung matatandaan nyo, natalo siya ni President Joe Biden noong 2020 presidential election. Muntik na sanang magkaroon ng rematch sina Trump at Biden. Pero umurong si Biden kaya si Vice President Kamala Harris ang nakalaban ni Trump ngayong taon. Tinawag ng marami na close fight ang tunggalian ng dalawa sa pagkapresidente. Pero sa pagkapanalo ni Trump ay naging pangalawang babae si Harris sa kasaysayan ng Democratic Party na bigong manalo laban sa kandidato ng Republicans. At dahil sa tagumpay ni Donald Trump, ay kontrolado na rin ng Republicans ang Senado. Wagi sina Bernie Moreno sa Ohio, Jim Justice sa West Virginia at Deb Fisher sa Nebraska. Si J.D. Vance na rin ang bagong presidente ng Estados Unidos at sa kanyang talumpati sa Palm Beach Convention Center, sinabi niyang hindi titigil ang Trump administration na tuparin ang pangarap ng bawat Amerikano. Binanggit din niya na sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni Trump ay magkakaroon ng greatest economic comeback ang United States. Una nang ipinangako ni Trump ang pagbabalik ng Golden Age of America dahil para tawagin siyang economic champion ng ilang mga botante. Hindi naging madali kay Trump ang taong ito dahil humarap siya sa mga criminal at civil cases at nakaligtas din siya sa 2 assassination attempts. Sa pagkapanalo niya sa edad na 78, he becomes the oldest man to be elected as U.S. President. Nakatakda siyang manupa bilang Pangulo ng Estados Unidos sa January 20, 2025 sa U.S. Capitol. Kasama ang napili nitong Vice President candidate na si J.D. Vance. Panoorin natin ito.
This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
Mayra Simbulan, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Myla, since nandiyan ka sa Pennsylvania, ang tanong ko, di ba noong nakaraang eleksyon si Biden ang nanalo dyan? Ano sa tingin mo ang dahilan kung bakit nagsishift ngayon sa Republican ng Estado?
So Nina, isa sa mga obserbasyon sa mga komunidad na naturing ang Democrats or predominantly Democrats, dito sa Pennsylvania lamang, makikitang may mga Trump banners na sila sa mga harapan ng kanilang mga bahay. At isang manifestasyon ito na maaaring mabago ang isip ng mga botante depende sa mga isyong nakakaepekto sa mga ito. Isa na rin sa mga nabanggit nila ay sa 4 na taon na pamumuno ni President Joe Biden, hindi sila naging masaya. Inflation din ay isa sa mga issue na nabanggit ng mga botante. Nina?
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Myla Simbulan, nag-uulat ng live mula sa USA. Samantala, hindi pa po tapos ang bilangan kung sino ang panalo kina Donald Trump at Vice President Kamala Harris bilang Pangulo ng Estados Unidos. Ay nag-unahan na ang iba't ibang leaders ng mga bansa sa pagbati kay Trump. Senyales ito na totoo ang forecast na maraming survey at news agencies na si Trump nga ang magwawagi bilang Pangulo ng Estados Unidos. Tinawag ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu isang historic return ang pagbabalik sa White House ni Trump. Anya, ito rin ay bagong simula ng alyansa sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at ng Israel. Samantala, umaasa naman ang gobyerno ng China na magkaroon ito ng isang peaceful coexistence kasama ang Estados Unidos. Binati rin ni French President Emmanuel Macron si Trump at tinawag na kaagad itong President Donald Trump. Sinabi pa ni Macron na handa na siyang makatrabaho ang ika-47 presidente ng US na may respeto at ambisyon. Anya, ganito rin ang naging relasyon ng France at ng US noong si Trump ang nasa White House. Tinawag namang impressive victory ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ang pagkapanalo ni Trump at sinabing umaasa siyang ito na ang magbibigay ng kapayapaan sa Ukraine. Throughout South African countries, extreme poverty has reached levels unseen in over a decade, leaving many in desperate need. Yet, amid these challenging times, the Care for Humanity Project intensifies its mission to bring relief to those suffering, like the community in Lavender Hill, a suburb in Cape Town, South Africa, where Michael Robinson brings us this report.
What is it that can't be said about one of the most beautiful cities here in South Africa, the city of Cape Town, a place where the mountain touch the clouds, stunning views, and especially the people that makes it such a vibrant city. But there's another story that hasn't been told, a story that is often unlooked. Instead of a stunning view, it's a harsh reality, a reality that is lived by its people every day regarding extreme poverty. And it's happening here in this community in Lavender Hill.
Indeed, the beauty of Cape Town can't be described in words. But for places like in Muizenberg, residents share many words about the grim life being lived on these very streets. The life here in Lavender Hill, communities throughout South African countries, accounting for 21 million people that are facing the worst food crisis and poverty seen in decades. Among them is Yaldine. Losing her parents at birth, leaving school in 8th grade to care for her ill grandmother has led her to these poor living conditions, and fighting to get out of it is even harder.
So eat twice a day. Like now, today, we had nothing to eat.
So what do you do?
I go to the neighbors, I'm knocking on the door, then I ask for my neighbors, can you just provide for my kids? Then I don't think about myself.
Equaling to $22 a month, which is under $1 per day, lower than the national average of $2.15 per day, according to the World Bank of those living in extreme poverty, which is why food is not making its way to this small shack where Yaldine lives. And as each day seems as a struggle, there would be a day of relief. Here at the Lavana Elementary School, just walking distance from Yaldine's home, hundreds like her would receive timely relief.
People is coming here because they didn't have food. A lot of these people here in our places, they don't have food, they have nothing.
You go sleep without food most of the nights.
The worst experience was the times I had nothing for my kids to eat.
A means of relief through the Care for Humanity project that continues giving and helping those in need. Here in Lavender Hill, care packages filled with grocery items from rice, cooking oil, and other essentials are helping hundreds of families like Yaldine here in this part of Cape Town.
Care for Humanity is one of the very great projects of the church ever since, even here in Africa. The Church of Christ, under the leadership of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, would always uphold the teachings and commandments of our Almighty God as we extend our help and support to the people and show the great love that we have for them.
It's a blessing for me to get this parcel. I had nothing in the house. For my family, that means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Church of Christ for helping the people, for having all of them here. And I thank also for the ministers and the pastors for helping the people and bringing them here. Thank you for the Church of Christ because they help us. And thank you very much for them. And may God bless you and keep you and do the best things what you do now for us. And may God take you further.
An impact so vital for residents, I learned more about how this small gesture of care and concern is helping in a big way.
And we appreciate what you are doing because everybody is we're living in poverty. Thank you. Thank you. God bless them all for helping us and helping the people, bringing here today.
It makes me feel like there is people that does care about me. They do care about me, yeah. Amazing for what you people did for us today.
Thank you for Church of Christ for helping me, for my family today. All my neighbors in Lamreel will not forget this day. All the food you're giving us today will help us so much.
The smiles and gratitude that we have seen here today is because of the powerful impact of this Care for Humanity initiative. Yes, it's true that giving material aid is important, but it's also the sharing of love and concern that unites us all. That's why as long as people are always in need, the Church of Christ will always be there, ready to help, serve, and uplift communities around the world. Because this is a church that truly cares. From Cape Town, South Africa, Michael Robinson.
Sa ibang balita, binayo ng malakas na snowstorm ang ilang rehiyon sa Saudi Arabia kung saan nabalot ng snow ang mga disyerto doon. Nag-issue na ang National Center of Meteorology ng hailstorm alert sa Al Jouf region. Batay sa reaksyon ng mga dalubhasa, nakararanas ang Saudi Arabia ng isang bihirang winter season. Makikita sa video ang mala-winterland na itsura ng mga disyerto sa lugar. Ayon sa ulat ng Meteorology Center, ito na ang unang beses na nakapagtala ito ng labis na snowfall sa rehiyon.
Binigyan ng Meta ng access ang United States Army sa Artificial Intelligence or AI ng kumpanya para sa national security purposes umano. Ayon sa Meta, layunin ng hakbangin na ito na matulungan ang US government agencies at ang national security contractors na palawigin ang cybersecurity nila. Magagamit na ng US government ang open source Llama AI models ng Meta sa lahat ng mga operasyon nito, katulad ng pagpapanatili sa seguridad ng mga datos sa mga tanggapan. Inihayag din ng Meta na magiging partner din nito ang ibang kumpanya katulad ng Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Lockheed Martin at Oracle para mapahusay pa ang Llama model. Matatandaang ipinagbawal ng Meta ang paggamit ng Llama AI model sa military warfare at lalo na sa espionage-related projects. Subalit ngayon ay nagkaroon ng exception ang Meta para matulungan ng US military sa complex logistics, monitoring ng terrorist finances at pagpapalakas ng cyber defenses dito.
Yan, Rikki, ngayon alam na natin kung sino ang tunay na nanalo. Congratulations! Walang iba kundi si...
Sino?
si bagong presidente, actually, ang nagbabalik, na si President Donald Trump. Siyempre, our hopes remain for the United States of America na maganda ang maging direksyon sa administrasyon
At siguro yung iba nagtatanong, bakit ba tayo nakikialam? Di naman tayo Amerikano. Naku, malaki po ang epekto niyan sa ating bansa at sa rehiyon. Because sabi nga nila, makaka-apekto yan sa polisiya, na makaka-apekto man sa bilateral relations ng Pilipinas at maging sa peace and security sa buong Asia-Pacific region. So, sana talaga ay maging successful naman ang magiging pagka-presidente ni Donald Trump ngayong 2024 and the next 4 years at sana talaga mas maraming mabiyayaan din sa kanyang pagkapangulo. Hindi lang yung Estados Unidos. Ayan. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita sa anumang dako ng mundo. Muli, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. Donald Trump was elected president, capping a remarkable comeback 4 years after he was voted out of the White House.
So I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
And the news starts now. Donald Trump was elected president, capping a remarkable comeback 4 years after he was voted out of the White House and ushering in a new American leadership likely to test democratic institutions at home and relations abroad.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Republican Donald Trump has claimed victory in the 2024 presidential contest after Fox News projected that he had defeated his Democratic opponent, Kamala Harris. His win would cap a stunning political comeback 4 years after he left the White House. He spoke in the early hours of Wednesday at a West Palm Beach, Florida convention center.
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
In Washington, D.C., Harris did not speak to her supporters, who had gathered at her alma mater, Howard University. The vice president's campaign co-chair told the crowd Harris would speak publicly on Wednesday.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation.
Other news outlets had yet to call the race for Trump early Wednesday, but he already appeared to be on the verge of winning after capturing the battleground states of Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and holding leads in the other four, according to Edison Research. Reuters reporter Andy Sullivan explains.
In the end, it wasn't particularly close. Donald Trump easily winning the states he needs to recapture the presidency, return to the White House in January, appearing to clinch it with a victory in Pennsylvania.
We have taken back control of the Senate.
Trump also will have the Senate on his side. His Republicans won back control of the Senate. That means he's going to get the appointments he needs for key posts in his administration. And think about if there's another Supreme Court seat that opens up, he'll be in a position to fill that as well. The main story here appears to be inflation in the economy. Voters clearly upset over this topic and holding it against the Democrats who are in charge while we saw that real sharp spike in inflation post-COVID. Other issues, abortion rights, concern over democracy, that sort of stuff that Democrats thought would work for them, clearly taking a back seat.
Trump went into Election Day with a 50-50 chance of reclaiming the White House, a remarkable turnaround from January 6, 2021, when many pundits pronounced his political career to be over. That day, a mob of his supporters stormed Congress in a violent attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. In 2024, Trump picked up more support from Hispanics, traditionally Democratic voters. He also won among lower-income households that have keenly felt the sting of inflation since the last presidential election in 2020, according to exit polls from Edison.
Seems to have pulled off a clean sweep, and it looks like both houses of Congress going to the Republicans as well. This is an extraordinary political victory, and I think all kinds of allies of the states and other parties are going to have to look at the result very clearly, because immigration, cost of living, these things have powerfully, it looks like, driven him to victory. Last time it was just Trump, almost newborn into the presidency, trying to work out what to do with this extraordinary thing that had happened to him. And this time around, he has a much better sense of people who share his worldview.
And I recently had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Lucio Blanco III via Zoom about the implications of Trump's projected return to the White House as president of the Philippine Association for Chinese Studies and a research fellow at the Asia-Pacific Pathways to Progress Foundation. Mr. Blanco offers valuable insights into what this political shift means for Philippine-U.S. relations and the broader Asia-Pacific region. Take a look.
Yeah, so based on his previous track record as U.S. president, we expect, of course, that the competition with China would remain a key part of the U.S. foreign policy. And that means, of course, that would have implications for Asian countries, including that of the Philippines. I expect that the alliance relations will continue to be strengthened, and of course, the both sides will revitalize consultations on how to strengthen the posture of the Philippines in relation to the South China Sea flashpoint. I think that the U.S. Might expect the Philippines to increase its defense spending. And I think this is where U.S. Companies and, of course, U.S. government can help support the country's defense modernization. It remains to be seen how this would be implemented. And, of course, many are expecting how the new administration of Trump would be any different from the previous one.
Based on Trump's first term, what can Southeast Asian nations expect regarding U.S.-China trade tensions and their spillover effects?
I think there's a serious concern on the part of Asian countries in relation to the trade tensions between U.S. and China. I think the fear that the tariff wars between U.S. and China, which are both important economic players in the region, would result to the scuttling or the unsettling of integrated supply chains. There's concern that there might be some fragmentation in the technology space. This may represent some opportunity, but I think short term, in the sense that some U.S. companies might accelerate the move to Southeast Asia to expand production, minimize their exposure in China. But again, we would have to see the kind of incentives that the Trump administration may roll out in order to encourage the move by some U.S. and foreign companies.
What economic implications should the Philippines and ASEAN prepare for under a second Trump presidency?
Well, there is concern about the trade war, the escalation of the trade tariff wars between U.S. and China, which are both important economic players for the region. And while there might be short-term gains in terms of the Trump administration probably encouraging U.S. and other foreign companies to diminish or to reduce their exposure in mainland China and move some of their production or supply chains elsewhere, including in Southeast Asia. So there might be some opportunities for countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. But again, in the trade tensions between U.S. and China intensified, then there is that fear that supply chains that are fairly integrated would be scuttled. And of course, that would lead to a knockdown effect on the cost and, of course, the price of commodities that are reliant on this enmeshed supply chains. So there might be some opportunities to be made in terms of attracting U.S. and Western capital, especially in the technology space, to move into some ASEAN countries. But again, this might be fleeting. This may be short term. And if the trade and the tariff wars between the two sides, especially in the technology sector, would escalate, then expect difficulties for countries in the region that source inputs from both sides and also export, their end or products in either side. So there will be certainly an effect all throughout the supply chain.
Now, you're talking about trade policies of Trump. How will it affect exports and investments in the Philippines?
Well, I think that some Philippine companies may try to ride on Trump's aggressive trade policy vis-a-vis China in order to corner more U.S. capital, more U.S. companies that are moving out of China and expanding into Southeast Asia, adopting China +1 or +2 or +3, and then try to offer some kind of incentives in order to attract this outgoing capital. And of course, for this to happen, the Philippines needs to improve its competitiveness because it's not the only party that is also trying to get this expanded share of U.S. capital moving into the region. So countries like Vietnam will expectedly be more aggressive in terms of trying to upgrade their value in the supply chain by trying to get more of this investments going out of China because of Trump's policy of trying to diminish reliance on China for critical minerals and also for intermediate goods. And of course, we would have to check whether U.S. corporates, Western corporates, will follow the policy guidance coming from the U.S. government. And I think that would be a strong signal for the others waiting as to whether the policy from the government would really have a strong drive, would provide the kind of incentives in order to push these companies out of China, but at the same time not affecting much of their financial bottom line. So we would have to see, because there's a lot of moving parts in this kind of space.
Now, how could the election outcome influence, the alliances, you mentioned alliances earlier. How could the election outcome influence US-led alliances in Asia, like the Quad, the ASEAN? Could you tell us more about that?
Well, we would have to see whether Trump would have the same intense commitment. Yeah, we would have to see whether Trump would have the same commitment to unilaterals and whether he would push for these ad hoc configurations with the same vigor as the previous Biden administration. But certainly, this network of alliances and ad hoc groupings can provide the U.S. Means by which to compete with China, especially in the security sphere, as well as in the technology space. So we would have to wait and see in the next coming months whether these unilaterals will continue to play an important role in U.S. foreign policy under a Trump 2.0 presidency.
How might this affect ongoing territorial disputes in the South China Sea?
We would have to see whether the Trump administration will also provide the same kind of diplomatic material support for the Philippines, including the country's naval and Coast Guard modernization, and whether the unilateral configurations, including U.S., Japan, Philippines, trilateral, and the Squad, will provide the same kind of diplomatic as well as, of course, military support by way of transfer of military equipment or arms, as well as joint patrols or joint sails, joint exercises, including in areas like the West Philippine Sea, because that has been a feature of, those are some of the actions taken by the incumbent Biden administration. So we would have to see whether the same actions or behavior would be sustained by Trump in order to demonstrate its support to its Southeast Asian allies. So we will have to, I think, see in the next coming months whether this would be the same kind of template that the second Trump administration would pursue in relation to its defense and security commitments to the Philippines.
Could you elaborate on specific preparations the Philippines should make?
I expect that the, of course, Marcos government would reach out to the new, to the incoming government in the U.S. And of course try to bolster relations and of course look at areas where Philippines and U.S. can work together. I think this would include, of course, areas like the critical mineral supply chain. Of course, if U.S. would position itself in terms of sustaining its advantages in the technology space. It would be very important to have access to critical minerals, and the Philippines is, of course, well endowed with such valuable mineral resources like nickel and cobalt.
Thank you to Dr. Lucio Pitlo III for sharing his insights and analysis with us today. Despite some connection issues on Zoom, we appreciate his time and perspective. And the news continues here on Net25 World News. We'll be right back.
The heat is on for clinics that have the latest and most advanced technologies to preserve the youthful glow. In this episode, we are unlocking the business potential of ageless beauty together with skin, face, and body anti-aging centers, Dr. Gisela Trajano Sarmiento.
If you are really open for business, you really have to find the side of you that would say that you are different from the others. There should still be a uniqueness that you will offer to the world.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Meanwhile, world leaders push to congratulate Republican Donald Trump today after he claimed victory over Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris in the U.S. presidential election, which would cap a stunning political comeback 4 years after he left the White House.
Ухудшить практически невозможно. Отношения находятся в исторически самой низкой точке. А дальше уже будет зависеть от следующего руководства США. Президент Путин неоднократно повторял, что он открыт к конструктивному диалогу, основанному на справедливости, равноправии и готовности учитывать озабоченности друг друга. И президент Путин сохраняет этот свой настрой. Он его неоднократно подтверждал. В настоящий момент администрация США настрой диаметрально противоположный. А что будет в январе, мы посмотрим. Это внутреннее дело Соединенных Штатов Америки. Мы, разумеется, внимательно отслеживаем все потоки информации, которые на этот счет идут из-за океана. Мы анализируем слова, которые говорятся. Ну и, конечно, главным образом будем делать выводы по заявлениям, по темам, которые находятся на нашей повестке дня, когда они поступят, и по первым конкретным шагам. Чего еще предстоит дождаться, все-таки принимая во внимание, что почти 1,5 месяца еще действующий президент США будет выполнять свои обязанности. Что касается поздравления, мне неизвестно о планах президента поздравлять Трампа с выборами. Все-таки давайте не забывать, что речь идет о недружественной стране, которая и прямо, и косвенно вовлечена в войну против нашего государства.
Meanwhile, world leaders push to congratulate Republican Donald Trump today after he claimed victory over Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris in the U.S. presidential election, which would cap a stunning political comeback 4 years after he left the White House.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by congratulating President-elect Trump on his historic election victory. As the closest of allies, the UK and US will continue to work together to protect our shared values of freedom and democracy. And having had dinner with President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago, I look forward to working with him in the years to come.
And so I would like to start by congratulating President-elect Trump on his impressive victory this morning. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September. Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologize for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order. And if he did not apologize, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
Θέλω λοιπόν να ξεκινήσω συγχαίροντας τον πρόεδρο Τραμπ για την εμφατική νίκη του. Βέβαιος ότι οι ελληνοαμερικανικές σχέσεις θα είναι σταθερά ισχυρές και παραγωγικές. ο χαρακτήρας τους. Άλλωστε, όπως έχω πει πολλές φορές, είναι στρατηγικός και το πρόσημό τους είναι εθνικό και όχι παραταξιακό. Προσδοκώ συνεπώς σε μια ακόμα πιο στενή συνεργασία μεταξύ και των δύο κυβερνήσεων αλλά και των δύο λαών.
President of Ukraine, he said, I appreciate President Trump's commitment to peace through strength approach in global affairs. This is exactly the principle that can practically bring just peace in Ukraine closer, Zelensky said on X. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, said, congratulations on history's greatest comeback. Your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. This is a huge victory in true friendship. Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, said, I just congratulated Donald Trump on his election as President of the United States. His leadership will again be key to keeping our alliance strong. I look forward to working with him again to advance peace through strength through NATO, he said in a post on X. Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy, said in a post on X, offered her most sincere congratulations to Trump and said Italy's and the United States had an unshakable alliance. It is a strategic bond which I am certain we will now strengthen even further. It's been reported that North Korean troops are now involved in clashes with Ukrainian forces in Russia's Kursk region. According to the New York Times, citing unnamed senior U.S. and Ukrainian officials, these recent skirmishes seem limited and may be attempts to probe Ukrainian defenses. Reportedly, North Korean troops are fighting alongside Russia's 810th Naval Infantry Brigade. In August, Ukrainian forces first crossed into Russia's Kursk region, capturing several areas, a significant move since the Russian invasion began in 2022. While the Pentagon recently estimated around 10,000 North Korean troops are present in Russia's Kursk, it hasn't verified if they're actively involved in combat. But in a separate interview, Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov confirmed that Ukrainian forces have had direct encounters with North Korean troops. The New York Times notes it's unclear when exactly these battles occurred, but according to a U.S. official, there were significant casualties among North Korean soldiers. In his latest address, President Zelensky remarked that this clash marks a new page in global instability.
Першими боями з північно-корейськими солдатами відкривається нова сторінка нестабільності у світі. І ми маємо разом зі світом зробити все, щоб цей російський крок на розширення війни, на справжню ескалацію, щоб цей його крок став програшним. І для нього, і для Північної Кореї.
The Indonesian government plans to permanently relocate thousands of residents after a series of eruptions of Mount Lewotobi Laki-Laki volcano, which killed 9 people and damaged thousands of houses. Mount Lewotobi Laki-Laki, located on Flores Island in East Nusa Tenggara Province, erupted on Sunday night, followed by smaller eruptions on Monday and Tuesday, and remains on the highest volcanic alert status. Permanent relocation is considered as long-term mitigation measures to anticipate similar eruption in the future, according to Suharyanto, the head of Indonesia's disaster agency, in a statement. The government aims to relocate all residents living within 7-kilometer radius from the crater. There are more than 16,000 residents living in the nearest villages from the volcano, but the government is still calculating how many residents will be permanently relocated. As of Wednesday morning, at least 2,500 people had been evacuated. The local government has declared a state of emergency for the next 57 days and prohibited any activity within 7 kilometers from the crater. Hurricane Rafael is making its way through the Caribbean, having passed over the Cayman Islands and now heading towards western Cuba, where it's expected to strengthen rapidly, according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center. As of midday, the hurricane was packing maximum winds of 80 miles per hour after passing by western Jamaica. and at that time it was about 60 miles northeast of Grand Cayman. In Jamaica, authorities set up 4 emergency shelters, and while heavy rains fell across the island, there were no reports of injuries or fatalities. As Rafael heads toward the Cayman Islands, officials are making preparations for possible damage to infrastructure, power lines, and water systems. The government announced that schools will be closed Wednesday as a precaution. Rafael could briefly weaken over Cuba, but is expected to regain strength as it moves into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. In Cuba, authorities have been clearing drains and collecting trash, particularly in Havana, to minimize storm-related issues. Cuba's power grid is still recovering from last month's Hurricane Oscar, and another storm could delay efforts to restore electricity across the country. The storm is also expected to bring tropical storm conditions to the Florida Keys after it passes Cuba. Meanwhile, oil and gas producers in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico are already shutting down operations and pulling workers off platforms in anticipation of Rafael's approach. Production could drop by as much as 4.9 million barrels of oil and over 6 billion cubic feet of natural gas. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.